Hello there, it's me, Tommy. So I've decided for a while, hey, I'm gonna do an album review. But I decided, hey, what should I try and do? Should I do something that's, like, forever culturally relevant? Should I do a more recent album? Should I do a good album? Should I do a bad album? And I decided to do a fairly alright, more decent, a decent recent album. A little bit of wordplay there. It's pretty alright. It's a very recent, you might have heard of it. It's called Abbey Road by the Beatles. Yeah, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start music review. If I'm gonna start music reviewing, I'm gonna start reviewing albums. I'm gonna start with like the album. Like if you think of music, this is one of like the albums that comes into your head. Whether you're a big Beatles fan or not, if you think of album, Abbey Road's like one of the first things you think of. The four blokes walking on the bloody road. That's like your first thought. So yeah, I guess we can just jump right into it. So we're gonna start off with the first track of this album. Come together. What a way to start an album with what is easily one of just the best opening tracks of any Beatles album, which is saying a lot because the Beatles tend to have very good openers. On Rubber Soul, I can't actually remember. Drive My Car was the opening to Rubber Soul, and that one's alright, but it definitely shows a bit more development than what was on previous Beatles albums. But yeah, from Revolver onwards, Revolver opens with Taxman, which is one of my favourite George Harrison songs. I think a lot of people could agree on that. Yeah, Sgt. Pepper's starts with the massive fucking double hitting combo of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, followed by and a little help with a little help from my friends. Two phenomenal songs that are easily among the Beatles' best, honestly. And the White Album, with all its problems, has a very strong opening with the other dual hitter of Back in the USSR and Dear Prudence. And yeah, this is no exception. Come Together is another fantastic opener. It's actually by George Harrison, because George Harrison has a much, much bigger effect on this album than all the other ones. I'm guessing a part of that was... this is a personal theory I've had. I've always felt like While My Guitar Gently Weeps was like the song that made John and George realise, oh, we have competition. Because before then, like especially, it was really just like the John Lennon, Paul McCartney, that was it. You had like the occasional Ringo song and the occasional George song. But thanks to the White Album and the general more increased effort of George around that time, yeah, I love George, but like it definitely, especially watching Get Back, it's like, I don't want to say he wasn't putting in effort, but like, he could have done more. I don't know. I'm sorry if this sounds rude. Yeah, but yeah, Come Together is fucking phenomenal, and it's followed by another George Harrison banger. That's something. This is Frank Sinatra himself said this is one of the best love songs ever written. Just positioning the camera correctly, but yeah, if Frank Sinatra himself literally says, yeah, this is one of the best love songs ever written, you did something right. This song is just really good. I think the orchestra by George Martin, who, if you asked me who the fifth Beatle was, it was George Martin, and this album sells it. This album is what makes George Martin, in my eyes, the fifth Beatle, if there ever was one. But yeah, this is easily one of his strongest ever. Like, both George Harrison and George Martin both do some of their best work on this album. Like, Something is just this incredibly... And a really, like, beautiful song, and we actually know how some of it was written thanks to Get Back. And there's, like, the one scene where you can hear him like trying to come up with the lyrics, and he says something in the way she moves like a cauliflower or whatever, and it's just stuff like that. And no, I'm bullshitting here, but yeah, Something is just an incredibly great song. And after that, this song can't fully be understood until you listen to it over 100 times. Why? Because that's how many times the Beatles did it. That's what I'm talking about. Maxwell's Silver Hammer. So for a bit of context, in case you don't know, the Beatles had to do this song 102 takes, I think, 102 or 112, I believe, because Paul McCartney just really wanted it to be like the big hitter for some reason, and yeah, everyone fucking hated it. John Lennon literally said it was his least favourite Beatles song, I think, and Ringo and George, they never gave their like opinions that harshly, but even you could tell they were like, they just didn't give a shit by the end. And what do I think of Maxwell Silverhammer? It's alright. It's definitely one of the more poor songs, but I definitely do like how on this album especially, Paul kind of brings himself back from the overindulgence that was found on White Album on songs such as Obla Di Obla Da, which are very obviously just Paul writing what he wants to. Not saying he shouldn't write what he wants to, but like you kind of got to realise there's a band here, you know? They're not just you, Paul. And that's a problem, but this is something that's like, Maxwell Silverhammer definitely does, like, you can definitely tell that this is a Paul song, you know? A lot of the other Beatles, like, you can tell they have a style, but you need to listen to them a lot to try to get their style. Yeah, there's no fucking denying Maxwell Silverhammer is a Paul song through and through. With all of like the upsides of a Paul song and all the downsides of a Paul song, you know? It's got the nice and sweet, wholesome lyrics he's really good at, but it has the slight simplicity to it and the old-time style that some people just don't like. And next is Oh Darling, which is just a straight-up like waltz 3/4 time song, I think. And honestly, I really like this one. It is a bit of a non-event. Like, not really a non-event. Nothing on this album is really a non-event. But, like, it's one of the songs I always kind of forget about when I'm, like, re-listening to this album. Which is a shame because it's a really, really good song, honestly. It's the only one I kind of forget about, but it's a shame because, like, I do think it's quite good. Again, this album is, like, there's a reason Abbey Road is as iconic as it is, you know? If you're at like an 8 out of 10 song, that's most likely going to be somewhat forgettable because, you know, it's all amazing. Also, yeah, I've been playing with this rubber band for like the fucking 8 minutes. I hope that didn't come out. YouTube, you saw nothing. Next up is one of my personal favourite songs of this album, Octopus Is Gone. I don't know why I really like this song, I just do. I think it's just something about the fact I just think Ringo actually has a surprisingly nice voice, and the song is literally just like Ringo singing about how much he likes the sea. It's totally charming in a way, you know? It really is, like, this is just like Ringo Starr singing about what he likes, you know? And I think, you know, the guitars on this as well, I really like the intro to the song. I don't know, I'm not a guitar guy, you know? I play drums, so I don't really know, like, what he's doing with the guitar, but I really like that sound. It sounds very old-timey, like, even 50s style. And I really like it, you know. Again, maybe this is just me. Again, I'm not too well versed in music. Don't shoot me, please. Yeah. Next up is I Want You, She's So Heavy. This isn't a bad song. Again, it's one of those songs where I think it's just kind of there. I know that's probably going to be one of my more sacrilegious things. I don't think it's a bad song, not at all. It's still great. I think it sounds very different than the Beatles. I think is a big thing. I remember thinking to this as I was re-listening to the song for the album. This sounds like if Pink Floyd made a Beatles song. Or, well, not to be more exact, if the Beatles made a Pink Floyd song. Because it has like a somewhat dark aesthetic to it. And a lot of instrumental like a Pink Floyd song. And I think that's probably the reason it hasn't stuck in my head as much. I don't assimilate this with a lot of the other like songs on this album. But it is really good. It's definitely one of the longer songs on there. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Sometimes it's okay to have a long song. And that closes up side 1 of this album. That goes up side 1. Next one to side 2, which starts with Here Comes the Sun. This is an all-time classic. Is anyone really going to argue Here Comes the Sun isn't an all-time classic? It is one of the most like played songs on Spotify, and for good reason. It is Here Comes the Sun. You don't get more iconic than Here Comes the Sun. It's one of the, I can't say much because what can I say about Here Comes the Sun? That is maybe kind of the problem of doing a review of Abbey Road. What do you say about Abbey Road that hasn't already been said? It's Abbey goddamn Road. Oh. Yeah, this is Abbey Road. This is Here Comes the Sun. Another George Harrison song. George has again way more of a presence on this album. And I kind of think he was at his best here. I think John and Paul kind of peaked during Sgt. Pepper's and White Album. But honestly, yeah, George just kept getting better and better and better. It's honestly kind of like insane. You know, it really makes me miss him all the more. Also, apparently, like, All Things Must Pass is really good. I don't know. I haven't heard that. And then we have Because. Yeah, this is actually, this is a song that exists on the Beatles album Abbey Road. There is definitely some cool... There's actually, like... It's not minimalist than a lot of the Beatles songs. I think that's why it doesn't stick out that much to me. But the melody on this is insane. From what I've heard, essentially they got like they eventually pioneered their own recording thing, because they were the ones who came up with the idea of like recording like the mic output as it came out. Because the way it used to work you'd have to, because you know how a lot of songs have like the dual like voices, right? Because it makes it have more like, I don't, like it makes the vocals pop more. And a lot of the time you had to do it, you had to sing, and then you had to sing the same song again, and that a lot of people really didn't fucking like that. John Lennon especially. And that's when George Martin, I believe, came up with the idea of having a secondary thing to essentially just record like a split second later or whatever. It was like 0.5 seconds. And because of that, they essentially just pioneered like in this revolutionary thing. Because the thing with the Beatles, a lot of the stuff you don't realise is as in, say, like the idea of being able to just plug in a mic into it, like a different two things at the same time to get the dual harmony effect. That is the most basic shit. But back then, that was revolutionary, and that's the thing. And that's what Because is. It's just that with I believe it is George, Paul, and John all at the same time, and they're doing it like freeway style. So there's 3 different recordings of it, and it makes it sound very like unique. I don't think I've ever heard like another song like it aside from another song on this album, because we're getting to the one and only Abbey Road medley. This is like what makes this album go from a fucking amazing collection of Beatles songs, like some of the best they've written, to one of the best things ever made by human. I'm not over exaggerating. It's so good. It starts with "You Never Give Me Your Money," which is, You Never Give Me Your Money is just so good, honestly. It is, it's a song like Paul, it's definitely like, it has a lot of like time changes, not time, tempo changes, that's the word. And it's a very good song, it's one of the few, the one problem with the medley is a lot of songs don't stand out by themselves, but You Never Give Me Your Money is one of the ones that does. It's incredibly good. I think Ringo's drumming on the entire medley, honestly, is fucking superb. No one ever talks about his drumming here enough. He messes with the hi-hat now, because the hi-hat, it's the thing to the side with like that can like open and close, right? Now a lot of like artists really have it like closed for the most part. But Ringo, this is the reason a lot of people consider he has a very unique drumming style, because he played like with the open and closing of the hi-hats as if it was part of the drum itself, which makes it sound really unique in a way that very few drummers actually do, and that's why a lot of people really like Ringo's style. So yeah, that's very strong on You Never Give Me Your Money. And then we have Sun King, which is kind of like the sister of Because. It has the same freeway vocal thing. I don't think it stands out as much. It's definitely it's one of the lesser events on the medley. It's still great, it still works as part of the medley, but I don't think it's as much of an event. But it does have Spanish in it, so if you wanted to hear the Beatles speak Spanish, I guess you got it. Next up is Mean Mr. Mustard. The bass line of the song is literally farts. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Go Mean Mr. Mustard, bass line isolated. It's literally just farts, and it's the funniest thing. Yeah, this is one of the short. I don't think this is even a minute. And yeah, it's just kind of there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It definitely is one of those more old-timey, like it's one of the more old ones. You can see them maybe developing into a whole song back during like with the Beatles for Sale or Help or whatever, but I do like it. And then after Mean Mr. Mustard we have Polyphene Pam, which is arguably the most Liverpool song they've ever made, because you can just hear John's like Scouse voice coming through so clear, and I really like that. It's definitely one of their more rock songs, which I really like. There's, as much as I love Abbey Road, my only real qualm with it is that it doesn't have as much rock on it as a lot of the other ones. It's a lot more pop rock than like rock, if that makes sense. Especially coming off the White Album, which definitely dips it into more rock stuff with Helter Skelter and Revolution. Yeah, like Polyphene Pam's a nice kind of thing to see. And after that, we have She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which it's alright. I definitely think that has some of the better vocals by Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney? I think it's Paul McCartney. I can't tell if it's Paul or John, but the main part that makes that song, at least for me, is the transition between Polyphene Pam and She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which is really good. It's one of my all-time favourite Beatles moments. It just hits you. It's like, oh, we're already here? Goddamn, It's one of the most clean transitions I've ever heard, Because I don't feel like it's setting up for a transition. It just kind of happens. I think that's the best way to do a transition. Some transitions in songs really try and go for the transition, and it just doesn't really hit the same. Next up is Golden Slumbers, which is this the big three of this album, pretty much, I'd argue. The fucking stretch from Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, The End, is like the best Beatles I've ever been. Golden Slumbers is a very heartfelt track with, in my opinion, Paul's best vocals of his entire discography. Solo work, the Beatles, all of it. His best vocal delivery. You know, it's just fucking solid as shit. I can't fault it. You know, it's just apparently this was based off like a lullaby. Like I think his mum used to sing, and not really like about the medley. It's how you kind of have to talk about these three songs together. They're all based around like love, and this is like, forgive me if I'm wrong about this. Like Golden Slumbers is about the love like your parents and your family give you. Carry That Weight is about the love like your friends give you, and the end is like the love that like your partner gives you. And you can really tell that because Golden Slumbers is this nice, quiet lullaby sung by Paul McCartney with easily some of his strongest vocals ever, like of the entire thing. Carry That Weight has all of them in a vocal harmony that sounds like this big crowd, and it feels just really good. It's such a perfect way to like go from Golden Slumbers to the end. But the part that makes Carry That Weight so good to me is it's the reprise of You Never Give Me Your Money. When you just hear those trumpets come in, it literally gives me chills. I'm not sure that shows you, I'm literally getting chills just thinking about it. It's one of my favourite moments of their entire discography. Because it's just like, it just brings the whole thing full circle. And we have the end. The end is, I'm going to paraphrase Mike the Snare here. That's the guy who does the Deep Disco Dive. Yeah, that is. Yeah, the end is literally just like the end of the best concert of your entire life is the best way to describe it. It feels just so powerful. You got to hear all of them do their own solos. You got Ringo's one and only drum solo with the Beatles, which is one of my favorites he's done, and you hear all the Beatles do their own guitar solos. You see George is more. You see some of the. It's not 100% the Indian influence, but you can still see some of it with the way he holds notes and all that. Like Paul goes for a bit more of like a slightly rough style because he's like more 50s style, and John goes for the very like powerful, messy style, which is my personal favorite of the solos. And then the final lyric in the end, "The love you give is equal to the love you make," just brings like their entire discography back around to the feeling of love, which is. As dumb as it sounds, that was what the Beatles were all about at the end, was just making people happy, as dumb as it sounds. And then we have Her Majesty. Yeah, this song fucking blows. It's not just that, oh, it ruins the end, ugh. Like, I definitely think in my video about talking about it, I think I focused on that end too much, but Her Majesty is just... It's just like 30 seconds of just Paul just singing about whatever the fuck. The reason why it's kind of there is because they kind of recorded it, but couldn't really fit it into the medley. They gave it to the sound guys and said like, but they would give it not to like change anything, but like not to cut anything. That's what I mean. And they couldn't cut the Her Majesty, so they kind of just let it on the end. That's how the album was like shipped. And it was essentially the first ever hidden track, because it wasn't on the album sleeve. Like, newer versions, yeah, but it wasn't on the album sleeve, it wasn't on the vinyl. It was just 20 seconds of silence. Then you heard Her Majesty, which, that makes me appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah, honestly, that has been Abbey Road. Yeah, fucking amazing album. My favourite tracks on here, I'll be listening to this again. Octopus Is Gone. Can I count the Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. This is my fucking video. You can't control me. But yeah, that is like a strong 3 songs. And my least favourite is probably either Her Majesty or Because. And overall, this album, I know this is cliche, it's a 10 out of 10. What do you want me to say? It's fucking Abbey Road, guys. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Arrivederci.